Hello everybody, this is Nora, and on this video today we are going to play with these 3D gels. I wanted to do a video on how to work with these 3D gels and how to do certain designs such as flowers and bows. I've had a couple of friends ask about how to work with these and how do they compare with acrylic powders when you sculpt with acrylic. I've never sculpted. I don't do any kind of work with acrylic at all. I've only learned to work with these 3D gels, so you can pretty much accomplish just about everything or anything that you can do with acrylic. It takes getting used to it, and because I don't know any different, this is the only thing that I know how to work with. One big flexibility that you have when working with gels is that it doesn't cure until you put it in the lamp. So you can start out your design, and if you're not happy with it, you can totally start from scratch without wasting any product. And then when you're happy with your final results, you can go ahead and cure. So let me go ahead and show you the 3D gels that I am referring to are these right here that I happen to have. I've had these for a couple of years now, and I got them from banggood.com. If I find a similar link, I will go ahead and place it down in the description bar, but these are pretty old. So I don't know if you might find the exact same, but something, if I will try to find something very similar to this and link it down below, even if the packaging might look different, or even if it's from a different website. But this is how small these containers are. And by the way, so this is the case that they came in. They came in this plastic case with a top, which it was later cracked, so I went ahead and removed the top. But this is, so you'll know, these 3D gels are nothing like gel polish, okay? This is literally like working with silly putty, okay, or Play-Doh. I mean, there's nothing, they're flexible and kind of sticky to touch, but you notice there's no runoff whatsoever, okay? I'm going to show you how I go about creating a flower and a couple of different bows. One of the, before I get started on that, one thing that you want to have handy is definitely alcohol. You're not going to use but the very minimal amount, but you definitely want this available. In a spray bottle like this will be good to have, because you will want to have spray some on your hands. Besides a brush like this, you may use, I use this, my orange wood stick a lot, okay, with these gels. So these are very handy, sometimes even easier or better to use than a brush itself. I didn't come across one of these brushes until way later on. And maybe anything pointy too, such as something like this, or maybe the other end of your orange wood stick. So any tools like that, even toothpicks, will be helpful. So don't think that you need any fancy tools to work with these. And then a little dampened dish or something small to have some alcohol in there. I don't have anything in here yet. But again, just to have, you want access to alcohol so you can work with these while you're sculpting. So I'm going to go on with the, I'm going to start with the flower, creating the flower, and I will walk you through, or I will be talking over and letting you know the steps that I'm taking so you know what to do with that, and then we'll move on to other things. I decided to use my pink gel to create the flower over this black nail right here. And so the first thing that you want to do, you start out with little bitty balls, okay? And I use my orange wood stick, the part that has the area where you push the cuticles, that has that flat part, to pick up the tiniest amount of gel polish, just like that. I mean, that is super tiny. And I literally just roll this, make it into a little ball right on my hand, okay? And I don't have anything on my hands. I don't have the alcohol or anything. Just a teeny tiny little ball, just like that. And I literally just place that wherever it is on the nail that you're gonna want your first petal, okay? Hopefully you can see that fine. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you in. And then from there, now I'm going to go ahead and use my brush, make sure that is soft, and then just start creating my first petal. And so I just, if you have worked on creating these kind of flowers with acrylic, it's the same kind of motion, okay? So you just flatten it, and I'm going to go ahead, and I really wish I could probably use a better brush than this. But then you just flatten, and what you do is you put the most, let me go ahead and use my orange wood stick for pointing. Put the most amount of pressure on this area, which is going to end up being the center of the flower, and less pressure on the brush as it's coming outwards towards the flower petal, okay? And how much of the underneath color or the base color you want to show, that's up to you. It will depend on how much pressure you put on that little petal. And remember when I talked about the challenge for me is making things the same size each time. Okay, well, so when it comes to these little flowers, one challenge for me is to pick up the same amount of gel each and every time, so each one of my petals is practically about the same size. Sometimes I end up with one bigger than the other, and I take some gel away, and so that to me, that's more time consuming. I'm making sure, just because, you know, I have to be for perfection purposes, and I like my petals all the same way. And how large this flower is going to be, so again, I won't know until I have all my petals there on play and right there in place. So at this point, and you can, and that's, of course, I forgot to mention, you want to have either your UV or your LED lamp handy, because again, this is gel, so it will need to be cured. And there are, depending on the design or what you're sculpting, there are going to be times where you will want to cure in between, so that when you go over in the design and creating other parts of the design, you don't want your original, maybe one of the petals, you don't want that to be ruined if it's exactly the way you want it. So I think this one, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to move on to the next one. I haven't done any curing on it, and because it is a flower petal, I can pretty much work on the side without, if I still want some flexibility on this petal, that will be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up another bead of gel and attempt to make this exact amount so that it comes out the same size. Sit on the nail like that. And then work with my brush. And also, let me go ahead and show you, with when I started out, this is all I have I didn't have a good pointy brush. So you can also use part of the brush, but very gentle, and then push the same kind of motion and then create this petal, okay? I'm going to go back to my brushes. I'm starting to get used to this brush. I'm liking it much better and not being so, and I think this is starting to look to me already like I didn't have enough gel in there, so I'm going to grab a little bit more, and this is something else that you can do. So you're not happy with how that's turning out, check it out. You can just pull it right out. It was, until you cure it, you can continue to work with it. And up to this point, if you notice, I have not, my brush is still dry and it's not wet with alcohol. And I mainly use the alcohol for softening the look of the design, okay, for a smoother look, so it doesn't have any not rough edges. I think I'm choosing to go back to my original petal here and see how that's taking shape. And that's why I did not put it in the lamp, because it's not until, you know, the flower, or this, and for this particular design, you might find that it doesn't come up quite defined until you're more into it. Okay, your first, do not judge your design by your first step. So see what happens after you continue adding to it. So I'm really liking how that looks, and I think, yes, at this point I really like that. I'm not going to want to spread them out any more than that, so I'm going to go ahead and cure these 2 petals before moving to the next one. Okay, so there I have cured these 2 petals, and as far as the length of time that I cure them, while I'm working on them, I cure them long enough so that they can't be damaged, or I can't make any changes to them. So maybe 30 seconds or so, and that's just fine. Here I just created my 3rd little ball. I'm going to place it right here. And then as far as the final curing, when I'm done, I cure them for a minute. By then they have been exposed to some light already. So yeah, a full minute for a full. I'm going to go ahead and I just wetted my brush just a teeny tiny bit with the alcohol. And so when I'm doing flowers like this, and I think I got my brush a little too wet, so I'm going to go to my orange wood stick and try to define the petal. Sometimes I don't know if it's going to be a 3-petal flower versus a 4-petal flower until I'm working with it. And so, just as a disclaimer, I am not an expert on this at all, okay? So you guys take it for what it is and play on your own and figure it out. I'm very happy with that. What do you think? I'm trying to, even if this doesn't come out totally perfect for how I would want it, I'm trying to just demonstrate for you what it is, how it is that you go about creating these petals, okay? And hopefully you're getting it. So now I'm going to go ahead, because I want to add a little ball in the center of the flower, I'm going to go ahead and cure this. Okay, so I cure that just long enough to keep the petals from moving. And as far as on the center of the flower, sometimes I like to put a little rhinestone. Sometimes I put the rhinestone before I cure the flower so that it sticks there well. If the flower is already cured, then I use nail glue or gel polish, to like clear gel top coat, to get the rhinestone to stick. You may also just put a little, give the flower a little center of its own. Here I just created another little ball, and with this one what I want to do is I'm using the pointy part of my orange wood stick and just put a little hole right in the center. Just like that. Hopefully you can see the 3-dimension. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. I do like that. And I'm almost thinking here, again, as you're designing this, this could evolve. I might even, for balance purposes, like I probably put a little leaf over here and another green leaf on the other side. I might play with that before I move on to the rest of the designs. So here's my flower. This is all now completely cured, and of course there's no top coat, so you want to finish your final design with a clear top coat, and I will do that after I'm done with all 3. But in it, that will really bring out the, it will really bring out the details. Isn't that pretty? And again, I find it pretty simple. It's just a matter of playing with it. So I think I'm going to move on to showing you how to do, let's do a bow. But I'm going to do a different different type of bow than this one. This is one that I'm going to sculpt straight onto the nail. So just another little simple, pretty bow. You can. It's another one that you start out with also. Just a little. And I'm using a little bit more than what I use for the flower. And I think I'll place it right in the center of my nail. Now, if you notice here, for the purpose of this video, I left these nails with the shiny, this is One Step Gel. When you do these on yourself or a client, you want to buff the nail and remove any shine. Remember, this is gel, so it will adhere better to the nail. And for my bow, so again, similar to the flower. Now, depending on how much gel you use, it's going to determine the profile of your design. So this is another nice thing about creating these designs. I mean, if you don't care for 3D charms that have too much of a profile from your nail, you can make these as flat or as 3D as you like. Okay, so that's one half of the bow. So I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with this. I like the shape. I'm going to go ahead and cure that so it doesn't go anywhere as I'm working on the other part. Okay, so this is partially cured. I went ahead and created my my second ball for the bow. And as you can see, you don't have to worry so much about any of this being perfect right off the bat, okay? Another challenge that I find, as you might notice here, it's not quite centered, is it? It's not. I don't think it is. So it really isn't. So there's that little bow. Now I'm going to go ahead and cure this. Now that this one is cured, I have an itty bitty ball right here, and I'm going to go ahead and place this on the center of my bow. And just start giving it a little bit of a shape so it looks like it's the knot of the bow. So give it a little bit of flat. And again, yeah, of course, this is something else that you can put a teeny tiny little rhinestone there as well. I think I'm happy with that, and I'll go ahead and cure it. So here's my teeny bow and the pretty pink flower. Now I'm going to show you how I went about creating these type of bows to make this is a little bit more complicated. And yeah, this is, again, if you notice, so the back of it is completely flat because I created these not on a nail like this. I created these on a flat surface when I cure them. So I think I'm going to go with this cream color gel to create this bow. And you'll see, I mean, I'm going to get a generous amount of gel in comparison to the previous two designs that I had done. So let's start out with about that much. Okay, so for this ribbon style bow that I did, I got a generous amount of gel right here. And what I'm going to do, let's see, I think this one I can go ahead and let's try to shape it flat. And I'm going to bring in a piece of foil for my surface to work on it like this. And you'll see the shape that I'm going to give this is going to have, the two ends are going to be more triangular, okay? So this is going to be, this might end up being pretty big. Yeah, this will end up being pretty big, but just to, so shape it, give it a diamond shape, and you're going to do two of these, because this diamond shape, then I'm going to fold it in half to create the one half of the bow. Okay, but I started out with this good amount of the larger the item that you're creating, obviously the easier it is to work with. So they're pretty much a diamond shape, and then you're just going to fold it over in half. So I'm bringing this is out, pulling it up from the foil. I'm trying to be careful not to lose that shape. I know this is a little bit challenging. I'm going to wet my brush to help it lift up. Again, using my hands, and you see what's happening here. See how it's folded over? And just make it touch like that. And close it at the end. Make it touch at the end. Okay? And don't be so, I'm not so concerned with the shape of it right now being so perfect. I work on that. And the nice thing about this is I can work on the two pieces of these individually without damaging the shape of the other one. So I don't have to cure it, so that I'll have, again, more flexibility later in making sure I have good symmetry between the two parts of the bow. So now I'm going to go ahead, now you see why I didn't use my white gel, because this is the one that I've used the most. So I'm using a color that I don't normally use to create these for the video. So this one, yeah, again, about the same amount of gel, and I'm going to repeat what I did. Okay guys, so here's my other part of the bow here that I went in shaping, creating just the same as I did this one. Now I went ahead and cured this one as I was pushing that one against it, and as to give it this final look of a more folded bow, what I do is I use the pointy part of my orange wood stick and this one, this side is this, so this one is cured. Okay, so you can see it's loose from my foil, and this one is not. So I'm going to go ahead and push right here to kind of give it that folded look. Now we want to go ahead and create the center part of the bow. For this one, I grab a itty bitty ball, just like that. Place it right in the center. Bring it over down to the sides to kind of give it for a more realistic look. And I will let you see what I mean. Hopefully, if this is focused, you can tell there. Now I'm going to go ahead and cure it, and then I'll be able to take it out of the foil. Oh, now completely cured, and I'm going to go ahead and start to get it out of the foil. I'll just start folding the foil back, and then just gently try to get it off of it. And I can just pull on the foil just like that. And just, there it is. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and to place this on the nail. So this is how it compares to my nails, okay? And again, so you can make these any size you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and place it on this nail just using gel, and then I'm going to go ahead and top coat these with clear top coat and be right back. So here's the final result after I applied top coat. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with a slideshow at the end of the video of all the designs and everything that I've sculpted using these 3D gels, and hopefully you will see all the possibilities and be inspired by them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.